Hello everyone and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. And over the next few minutes, we'll take you from the United States and around the world, covering all the top stories of the day. But before that, let's get you caught up on the latest headlines. The Pentagon cuts $5.1 billion in defense spending, scrapping IT and consulting contracts with Accenture, Deloitte, and others to curb what it calls wasteful spending. The U.S. military fires the commander of its Greenland base for opposing Vice President JD Vance. She pushed back after Vance criticized Denmark's rule over Greenland. Tariffs Rana, accused in the 26/11 terror attacks in India's Mumbai, placed under custody for 18 days. The National Investigation Agency, or NIA, begins interrogation into his alleged links to the terror plot. Google reportedly lays off hundreds of employees from its Android, Pixel, and Chrome teams. The company had earlier offered a voluntary exit program to those affected in January. And Apple's iPhone 16 hits the stores in Indonesia after a deal with the government ends a sales ban. The breakthrough comes after a $300 million investment to meet local manufacturing rules. Washington's long-simmering trade war with Beijing has reached a boiling point, and President Donald Trump insists he's still open to making a deal. Speaking during a cabinet meeting yesterday, President Trump struck an unexpectedly conciliatory tone, saying he would love to get a deal with China to end the spiraling tariff battle.
We would love to be able to work a deal. They've really taken advantage of our country for a long period of time. They've ripped us off beyond nobody. How people stood for it, sitting in my position, is not even believable.
President Trump's remarks came just a day after he stunned markets by freezing most of his newly imposed global tariffs for 90 days, except those targeting China. In fact, in a tit-for-tat move between the world's two biggest economies, President Trump raised tariffs on Chinese goods multiple times, beginning from 20% in March to reaching 145% on April 9th. Now, China has again retaliated with 125% tariffs on American imports. Meanwhile, as talks stall and tensions rise, the battle between the U.S. and China has gone beyond trade into the world of AI-generated satire. Chinese social media has erupted with biting tech-savvy jabs aimed at President Trump and his top aides. In fact, one viral video features AI versions of President Trump, his buddy Elon Musk, and Vice President JD Vance clumsily assembling sneakers on a dingy production line. But the mocking doesn't stop there. A meme shared by a spokesperson of China's foreign ministry showed a red MAGA hat labeled "Made in China" with its price marked up to $77. However, things got even uglier after Vice President JD Vance's controversial comment that China's economy was built by peasants. The remark seemed to open the floodgates for more AI-fueled ridicule. In one particular video shared by a now-deleted Instagram account, but shared by several others, portrays overweight American workers sweating in bleak factories, stitching together Nike shoes, Tesla components, and iPhones as they guzzle soda. Government officials in China remain steadfast while their public-facing rhetoric suggests openness to dialogue. Their actions, however, and memes hint at a nation gearing up for a long, bitter fight. As Trump maintains his hard stance, believing China just doesn't know how to make a deal, the world watches, because behind the AI parodies, the next 90 days could decide more than just a deal. They may even define a new era of economic warfare. And from President Trump's trade war enemy, we now move to the commander-in-chief's 51st state interest, Canada. But this time the battlefield isn't just in politics or economics. It's playing out in the pages of comic books, where the president has been recast not as a world leader, but as a full-blown supervillain. Yes, you heard that right. In a surprising twist, President Trump has now found himself illustrated, dramatized, and caricatured in Canadian comics as the main antagonist in a bold and symbolic narrative. The president's brash rhetoric, especially his repeated threats to annex Canada and turn it into the 51st U.S. state, ignited a cultural storm north of the border. And in true comic book fashion, Canada fought back, not just with words or policies, but with a hero. Enter Captain Canuck. This 1970s superhero, originally created to embody Canadian values, strength, and independence, is now enjoying a powerful resurgence. Captain Canuck is ready to defend Canada from all threats, and even from those wearing suits and holding press briefings from the White House.
Trump gets into office, and he starts talking about annexation and tariffs. And yes, all of a sudden, Canadians are looking to Captain Canuck as a symbol. And it's basically, to them, Captain Canuck symbolizes independence. No thank you, we have our own independence. We have our own symbols.
In fact, in the comics, President Trump is shown issuing aggressive ultimatums, enacting punishing tariffs, and making outrageous claims about national security and economic benefits tied to Canadian annexation.
It's got a lot of Canadians, thinking about their identity as Canadians and feeling more united as Canadians. We feel like, okay, we've got to stand in opposition to these proposals.
But the Canadian hero fights back and can be seen physically restraining the president, wagging his finger in disapproval, or dragging both President Trump and his unlikely sidekick, Elon Musk, by the collar.
I think Canada felt America had Captain America, and we should have our own. And that was the thinking, and that was my thinking. And it wasn't as if I was so super conscious of it. It was just like, okay, there's a niche to be filled here. And that was the beginning, and it was well received.
Now, even though the comic book portrayal may seem surreal, the sentiment behind it is in fact real. Canadians, long proud of their liberal views, multiculturalism, and distinct identity, are now turning to a fictional superhero to express their collective frustration and resilience. And with political tension still simmering, Captain Canuck's role has never felt more relevant or more urgent in Canada. And now moving on to the much anticipated direct talks between the U.S. and Iran, which are scheduled for Saturday in Oman. The meeting will be held between U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and a senior Iranian leader. At a cabinet meeting chaired by President Donald Trump, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that Washington has been clear that Iran is never going to have a nuclear weapon, and that he hopes the talks will lead to peace.
An important meeting, thanks to you, is going to happen on Saturday. For the first time in a long time, there'll be direct talks between Ambassador Witkoff and a top-level leader in Iran. We hope that'll lead to peace. You've been very clear what Iran is never going to have is a nuclear weapon, and I think that's what led to this meeting.
Tensions surrounding Iran's nuclear program are once again in the spotlight, but this time amid a rift between the United States and its European allies. President Trump has seemingly once again sidelined the European nations from an important negotiation, which is quite similar to what happened in the Ukraine peace talks. Experts are raising concerns that Washington's decision to exclude Europe from direct talks caught its leaders off guard after President Trump made a surprise announcement. The U.S. reportedly did not inform Britain, Germany, and France, the so-called E3 nations, about these discussions beforehand. This lack of coordination is particularly significant because these European powers hold a vital card in this situation, which is to potentially reimpose UN sanctions on Iran. And a key point of contention lies in the mechanism for reimposing UN sanctions known as snapback. As the U.S. unilaterally withdrew from the 2015 nuclear accord with Iran, it is no longer able to actually have the power to initiate this process at the UN Security Council. This leaves the E3 nations, Britain, Germany, and France, as the only participants of that original deal who are both capable and seemingly willing to pursue snapback. This makes Washington's alignment with the European powers absolutely critical, but America's go-it-alone approach is acting as a stumbling block. Whether the United States will adjust its approach and re-engage its European allies in a meaningful way remains a critical question with potentially far-reaching consequences for regional and global security. And now to a tragic incident in New York. A tourist helicopter crashed into the Hudson River on Thursday, killing all 6 people on board. The victims include a Spanish couple and their 3 children who were visiting the city on holiday. While the National Transportation Safety Board has launched a probe, initial reports say the crash might have been caused due to a technical glitch. President Donald Trump and New York City Mayor have both sent their condolences to the families of the victims. Our next report tells you how a joyride went horribly wrong.
New York, at around 3 p.m. A huge splash spotted at the Hudson River. All eyewitnesses could make of it was a large object plunging into water.
Oh my God! Oh my gosh!
Seconds later, what appeared to be a helicopter blade followed.
Oh my goodness! Oh my gosh!
Within minutes, emergency and police boats were seen circling around a patch of the Hudson River. Rescue divers were called in. But only what appeared to be an aircraft's landing gear was seen floating on the surface. A Bell 206 chopper operated by New York Helicopter Tours flew over Hudson, New York. It reached the George Washington Bridge and crashed within minutes after the takeoff. On board was a family of 5 Spanish tourists. The victims included Siemens executive Agustin Escobar, his wife Mercy Camprubí Montal, a global manager at an energy technology company, and their 3 children, in addition to the pilot. 4 were pronounced dead at the scene, while 2 others were taken to hospital where they died.
At this time, all 6 victims have been removed from the water, and sadly, all 6 victims have been pronounced deceased.
Taking to social media, US President Donald Trump called the accident terrible and said details on why the crash happened will be revealed later.
But, you know, I'm putting...
A 29-year-old witness said the sound initially seemed to be that of gunshots before she peered out her window to see an entire helicopter fall to pieces.
I looked out my window right here and I saw a helicopter falling to pieces. And I watched multiple pieces splash down into the river below. And I was wondering what happened. Did it get shot down? Because again, I thought it was gunshots when I first heard it.
So what may have actually caused the crash? Experts say it seems to have been a catastrophic mechanical failure that left the pilot with no chance to save the helicopter. There is a possibility that the helicopter's main rotors struck the tail boom, breaking it apart and causing the cabin to freefall. Manhattan skies are usually filled with planes and helicopters, private and commercial both. At least 38 people have died in helicopter accidents in New York City since 1977. In 2009, a collision between a plane and a tourist helicopter over Hudson left 9 dead. In 2018, a charter helicopter offering open-door flights went down in the East River, killing 5. The Bell 206 crash was the first for a helicopter in the city since one hit the roof of a skyscraper in 2019, killing the pilot. In January this year, an American Airlines jet and an Army helicopter collided mid-air in Washington. It was the deadliest U.S. air disaster in a generation. These recent crashes have raised serious questions about the safety of flying in the U.S. As they open gates for a deeper discussion, investigators are still trying to find out what actually caused the New York helicopter come crashing down in the Hudson River.
And our final story this week stars none other than rapper and provocateur Kanye West. The rapper dropped around 100 unfiltered posts serving up apologies, accusations, and a truly wild fictional threesome featuring Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, and Harry Styles. He also claimed that Swift is behind his Super Bowl halftime show snub, and the rapper didn't stop there and went to ask an eyebrow-raising question about Jay-Z and Beyonce's marital life. Here's more on the internet storm that just will not quit.
In today's episode of Kanye's Digital Diary, Unfiltered and Unhinged, the artist, formerly known as a musical genius, has hit the pause button one too many times. And this time, he might have finally crossed the line Swifties have drawn in glittery Grammy gold. It all started with what looked like Kanye West trying to turn over a new digital leaf. He kicked things off with a semi-apology. But in true Ye fashion, he immediately veered off course into full-blown chaos. The rapper dropped around 100 posts on social media. The pièce de résistance, a vulgar claim that implied that Taylor Swift was involved in a threesome with Justin Bieber and Harry Styles. And it doesn't end here. Kanye West went on to say that it was racist of the singers to not invite him. Did we want this image? No. Did he post it anyway? Absolutely. Unsurprisingly, Taylor Swift was not having any of it. According to reports, her team sent the rapper a cease and desist letter. Other reports suggest that Swift felt that Kanye West went too far this time. The letter accuses Ye of harassment, defamation, and general creepiness. According to a report, a person close to Swift revealed that the rapper isn't just gossiping, he's sexually harassing a woman and trying to sabotage her career. And because the universe just had to keep spinning, Ye then claimed that Swift was one of the reasons he never got to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show. According to him, 3 moments killed his NFL dream. First is that George Bush doesn't care about black people, then his own support for Donald Trump by wearing a MAGA hat, and the 2009 VMA interruption of Taylor Swift, where he interrupted Swift's Best Female Video speech to declare that Beyoncé deserved the award instead. Just when the world thought Ye had peaked, he decided to take a hard detour into Messi. The rapper threw shade at Jay-Z and Beyoncé. First, he apologized for attacking their children, then crossed every line by posting a vulgar question about their intimate life. And if that wasn't enough cringe for one day, he added fuel to the fire by boasting about former hookups with Madonna and Ashley Olsen, while simultaneously trying to humble brag and trauma dump about how the rap industry has abandoned him. So now what? Well, no word yet from Taylor Swift. Meanwhile, Ye's followers are stuck watching this reality show unfold in real time, wondering whether they're witnessing a PR stunt, a public spiral, or a new avant-garde art piece.
That's the show for today. We certainly thank all of you for tuning in. We hope you have an amazing weekend, and we look forward to seeing you right back here on Monday.